Hey there, welcome. It's Karen Lanoux from No Limits Businesswoman, and today I have Tina Seiler here with me. Tina has been part of the No Limits Accelerator program. It was formerly the Mastermind, now it's the Accelerator. And Tina, I'm so glad you're here with me today.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here with you as well. Happy to do this.
Yay, yay. So Tina was part of the program. And so Tina, just tell us about what brought you to me in the first place? What brought you to kind of getting involved with this?
I have a friend, a close friend, and she is amazing. She is unstoppable. She's probably single-handedly the most amazing woman I've ever met, and that's saying something because I have an amazing circle of friends. But I moved to Paris. My lifelong dream of moving to Paris came true about 3 years ago. I was living in London and my company transferred me. And for the first 2 years, it was supposed to be the best thing that ever happened to me because it was my lifelong dream coming true. And I was really, really struggling with it. And I kept feeling like there was something that I was supposed to be doing, something that I was missing. And every time I would talk to my friend Melissa, she had great advice. It isn't just the advice that she gives, it's the way that she lives her life, and it's the woman that she is. And so we had talked about her having a coach quite a bit, actually. And finally, eventually, just one day I said, right, you have to introduce me to your coach. I need whatever you're doing, I need to do that. And so she did. And so that is how we made the introduction. So that's how I found you.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Melissa's awesome. As are you.
Yeah.
And so what were the challenges that you were coming up against? What needed to shift for you?
Well, I'd made my lifelong dream come true, and I was supposed to be off the charts happy, and I wasn't. And it was because I was in a really horrible job situation, a really toxic job situation. And that kind of spilled over into every aspect of my life. And also, it was a big change. I had moved from London to Paris. There was a culture shock. There was new friends and being far away from old friends. And so my support network was different, and it was a real struggle. And the toxic work environment really, it just battered my confidence. I kind of felt like all of the things that I want to do, I can't do them. And that's not really who I am, and that's not the way I am. But I forgot that and I needed to find that again. And so yeah, it was a combination of all change all the time and a lack of confidence, and it was really overwhelming. And I was just completely overwhelmed by the situation and needed to feel like I got some control back.
Right. So what were kind of and starting to work together, what were the biggest things that started to shift for you? What were the results that started to happen for you?
I think the biggest things that started to shift, I remember one of these kind of aha moments where it was celebrations. It was, the taking time to celebrate what you've accomplished. Mm-hmm. And I remember one day I kind of sat down and I was doing the daily, what did I accomplish today, and doing my little Snoopy Dance that I do because that's just what I do. And I started thinking about not just the things that I accomplished today, but just in general, the things that I have accomplished in my life that got me here. Yeah. And when I took a look back, I haven't suffered any major catastrophes in my life, but there have been some pretty unpleasant moments and some poor choices and some unfortunate situations. And I have landed on my feet through all of those. And some of them were pretty big things that suddenly everything one day looks like this, and then the next day that has all changed. And it was really important for me to take a step back and see that, yes, I had all of these challenges and I landed on my feet, and to then take that forward and say, okay, well, I did that and I lived through it. So all of these things today, I can live through those too, and it's okay. And it was just that taking a moment to celebrate and acknowledge my accomplishments that I thought, yeah, actually there's been quite a few. And that means that there will be more, because I know I can do this, because I am strong enough to make these choices and live with the consequences. And so I think celebrating and forcing myself to, maybe objectively, maybe not so objectively, celebrate some of those things, really, really helped. And then the other thing that I think was really critical was looking at all of the things around me and saying, I have a choice. 99% of the things in my life are my choice. And I can choose to take no action, or I can choose to take tremendous amounts of actions, or I can choose to break things off into bite-sized pieces. But that is my choice. And that helped me feel like I'm in control. And so all of the situations that I know that I can achieve, I am in control of, and I can actively choose how I handle those things. And I think those were my two biggest shifts.
Sure. Okay. So, and both of those led to just greater confidence and going forward. And I think there's a few things I know that happens for virtually everybody, is that you develop a greater awareness of what's happening around you, so you can be in choice. But then there's some real perspective changes, like what you've talked about, right? Just that those like, oh, I never thought of it that way. And
yeah. And I had a lot of those. I had a lot of things that I had kind of always believed, and having the ability, taking through the course, doing the homework and then looking at, yes, I've always believed those, because I had experiences that led me to think a certain way about money, or to think a certain way about relationships, or how I act in relationships. I had kind of developed, yep, this is how I handle things. And taking a moment to say, well, that's how I used to handle it, but is that still true? Do I still need to do it that way? And will that work? And some things, yes, some things will continue working, because that's the situation. But lots of things didn't. And so it really helped to have that shift in perspective, and also realize that just because I thought that way in the past, I don't have to keep thinking that to move forward. And so I don't have to repeat the same mistakes. I get to make whole new, interesting, different mistakes.
I'm trying to think about, because I've seen such, there was just those moments where it was like everything stopped, and I kind of always imagine, or how I kind of see it from this side, is like, you can just see, like, it's almost like that belief blows up, right?
Yeah, the clouds kind of move out, and you think, oh yeah, yeah. And that's been a major gift of this whole experience, is thinking that I get to choose how I look at each of those things, and if I don't like it, that's okay. I can change that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of, that's just been a major revelation for me, is thinking, just because I used to think that, or feel that, or do that was fine then, maybe, right, but it doesn't have to be the same way now. And I am in control of how I take forward most all of the situations in my life.
Right. So before us starting to work together, were you aware of the limiting beliefs you had, like how many there were, and what impact they were having?
Some of them, because my life now is very, very different to the way that I grew up. Right. And so along the way, I've learned, oh yeah, that doesn't work. That worked in that situation. And so I have to think about it in a different way.
Yeah.
And so there were a few of those things where I had an idea yeah, that's a limiting belief and I get to change that. But I didn't have the tools to be able to actually practice doing that on a daily basis and make that part of who I am. I was aware that lots of things that I grew up believing weren't true, or weren't true for me now, but I didn't have the vocabulary or the tools or the practice or the probably even the opportunity to say, okay, that doesn't work anymore. And it's okay if I change it. And I can do that starting right now and practice it. And then that will become the new me. And so I had some idea that there were things that I didn't need to think that, but until someone points it out to you in a very eloquent way, sometimes it's not easy to see those things or to do anything about them, even if you know it.
Sure. So what's the impact been on us, on your life and us working together?
I'm a me.
What's the main biggest impact?
I'm back to being a me that I like being. and I have confidence that it doesn't, I have the vocabulary now and I have practiced it and I know that it has always been true that amazing things happen in my life. I make amazing things happen in my life and I had forgotten that. And I remembered that. And so those things are going to keep happening and more and more of them are going to keep happening because that's who I am and I've rediscovered that. And so I think the major shift is I kind of got back the person that I really, really, really like being. And I'm her all the time now. It's not just, okay, yes, I have bad days. I'm human. but generally speaking, I am the woman that I want to be 99% of the time.
Wow.
And that was not true 2 years ago. That was not, it wasn't an inverse proportion to that completely, but it definitely was not this higher percentage.
Right. That's very cool. Well, and so, what would you say to somebody who's just thinking about this? Cause about, working with me. Cause I think here's the thing. And everybody, I want you to understand, Tina is operating at a very high level in the organization that she's working in, and I won't say the organization, but it's like in the top 10 in the industry around the world of the company that she works for. So she's again, she's like all that. She's all that even before she got to me. And that's the thing I also want people to understand is like, you can still be really operating and doing very well in your industry or in the job that you're in or the business that you're in, but there's still stuff that holds you back. And so, just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork for that. But what would you say to people who are thinking about it or just are not sure about taking the leap?
Leap, run, fast, jump, do it. Because I think that one of the things that I found the most amazing about the program, obviously Karen, clearly, but working with the group of women as well, because I have been in my industry for 20 plus years, I know what I do really well, but I didn't know what anybody else did. And I kind of got blinders of this is the way that it has to be done because this is the way that I see it every day. And talking to the women on the twice weekly calls, you realize there are so many different industries, but the base problems that high achieving women have are really similar. And there are lots of ways of solving those problems that never would have occurred to me until I listened to other women in completely different industries, artists and tech and women in tech. And I work in legal and finance. And so we have a very set way of doing things. Speaking to women who work in pharma and, and other areas, you think, oh, the human problems are the same with children and parents and, romantic relationships and on the, on a personal female level, we encounter pretty much universally the same things. But even at work, the level that you're working at within an organization, or if you're an entrepreneur, or, if you're a sole practitioner, if you're any of those things, the base fundamental way to handle a lot of the problems that we have, that high achieving women all have, pretty similar. There are lots of good strategies that I never would have thought of, that I learned from the group and from listening to women in completely different arenas to mine. That was really helpful. And also it's a great group of women. I would rush home from work to be on those calls, because it was just sort of, it was a nice place to be. It was a supportive environment. It's a great group of women that I learned so much from. And I think that that's a major, it's a gift, and to make connections with other women who are having the same exact struggles in different, and other women have come through the struggles that I have, nailed it. And it's like, oh, okay, tell me that. And then others have no idea, but will still want to listen and appreciate and make really phenomenally good suggestions, or even just be supportive.
Yeah.
That's amazingly helpful. And I think that that's something that this program is really unique for. And I say, do it. If you are already a high achieving woman and you want to, if you want to take it to the next level, or you just want the level that you're at to be easier and more enjoyable and more pleasant, and get your life to a point where there aren't black holes in your vision, where you just think, I'm doing this because I have to, then learn a different way of handling those things. And this group will give you all of those tools and give you the practice and give you the support. And it's brilliant. And if you want to level up, coaching helps. The professional athletes have loads of different coaches. It's a thing. And it's not just a thing for athletes. It's a thing for people who want to get better. And Karen is outstanding at it. So do it. If you want to take the leap, run, jump, do it.
Thank you. Thanks. Would you say, did you find that things started to shift right away, or was it like a longer time frame? Because I think that's the thing. People think, oh, I've got this big problem and it's going to take forever to solve, or I can't see myself getting past this, or it's going to, I've had people who show up and say, oh, this is going to take years, right? And so so I'm just curious about your experience in terms of how quickly things start to shift.
There were one or two things that shifted almost instantly. Mm-hmm. And it really was just changing my perspective on how much control I had in a toxic situation. Yeah. And how long I needed to, or was required to, have that affect me. What was my time limit for that? And once I realized my time limit is when I say I'm done, then I'm done. That was, earth-shattering. But there are other things that I'm still working on, and they still take practice, and they haven't been solved, and they're probably not gonna get solved, but I know that I'm on the path to getting those things done and doing it, building a really solid foundation. And so I think, I really thought that getting my confidence back was going to take forever, because it had taken a beating. And it didn't, I can't remember kind of, one of those lightning strike moments, but I remember a couple of different meetings at work, or different times or things, where I would have expected my reaction to be very different to what it actually was. And I thought, oh, hey, that's cool. Yeah. And so it was like, all right, there we go. That's a giant leap. And there are lots of little baby steps in between. But yeah, there were several things that shifted quickly enough that I remember thinking, okay, I can do this. This is working. Keep going. Yeah. And it definitely definitely helped a lot of kind of all of the key areas in my life where I wanted something to shift. It's all shifted.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Okay. Well, so is there anything else that you want to say? Anything else you would tell anybody who's thinking about this?
It's an invaluable experience. It's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in how you look at yourself and how you look at other people around you. And there's everything to gain from doing this. Everything. You can literally gain everything from rebuilding your thought process in this way. And so you should do it. Absolutely, you should do it.
Listen to Tina. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm so glad you kind of did your little dance, because I think that's the one thing that I know all of us just love about, we try to emulate it, but we're not like you. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. It's
like a
the Snoopy Dance. Yes. Yeah. It's my version of the Snoopy Dance. So.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much, Tina. And so for anybody, if you at this very moment are thinking about, I need to shift things in my life, I'm stuck, or I'm stalled, or I need my confidence back, or there's just things are just going, or you're at a turning point, I guess, and things just need to shift and change. Let's have a chat. Just connect with me. Go to nolimitsbusinesswoman.com/talk. And that will take you, we'll have a little 15-minute chat just to see if I can be of service to you, and if we're a good match. And then we'll carry on from there if we are. And, but yeah, it's quick. It's no strings attached. Let's just have a chat. So thanks again, Tina. And see you guys later.
Bye.